And some of those examples, like you said, like, what's an example? Those are the tiny things that males are expected to control a conversation. So the one thing I feel like everybody can do is, and even if you're a female, is try to take control of the conversation. Try to put yourself in there. If you notice somebody in your workplace, in your showplace, or even when your kids are talking with their friends, and you notice, especially because it's usually males are taking control, those are the tiny things. Because right now, most kids, right, even like me, we're building into who are we going to become when we're older. So if you see this happening and you say, you know what, no, or you see your kids talking to another kid and you see a male controlling it, or at your workplace, you put yourself out there. Those are the tiny things that are going to change it.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from the females on the panel about this.
Same question. Okay, I think another thing that you didn't really mention is chivalry. We don't really talk about this much, but like chivalry is a big thing, right? The male is supposed to hold the door for the woman. The male is supposed to like help the woman out whenever she's struggling. Like if you see like, let's say we're walking around in school, I'll see like a boy drop his stuff. No one's gonna come help him. There is like not a single person that's gonna come and help the man. Whereas if a woman drops her books, I'll see like 5 different boys coming after the man. And maybe that might be because the boys see a pretty girl, but also we can see that we can see this as like a pure form of how like men are expected to be like strong. It's like a subtler example which we don't really talk about, but like we can see this like happening all the time.
I think that a subtle form of like toxic masculinity is simply like the phrase like I can do it for you. Like a lot of like when I hear that phrase, sometimes I think it's just like someone who wants to help me out and they're just like looking at what's best for me. What I don't realize is that like usually if a male says I can do it for you, it's not like insinuating they're not saying in a way where they want to help you, but they just think that they can do it better than you, which I don't think is what a lot of people realize. And I think that's like a phrase just to look out for. That's like a subtle form of toxic masculinity that we notice we can help change.
Like one other thing, I don't know if it's as subtle, but it's mainly like that financial aspect. A lot of men are like seen or expected, I guess, to require or to provide like for their families or provide for women. And like part of the reason that we created Rise is because we wanted women who are in those abusive relationships to feel like they're financially independent. Because we had this situation with our family friend. Her husband was the only one who was working in their family, so he was the main financial provider. And so once he was getting too abusive, and so her children ended up calling the police, and like this whole situation happened, and her mom couldn't provide for their family anymore because he had left and he was the main financial income. So it took them a long time to like get back on their feet. So like as Rise, that's what we were trying to do. So that's definitely a form of toxic masculinity, like being men being required or being like encouraged to be the main like financial provider in the family. And that's something that we definitely need to like change. And there's like a lot of movements that encourage women to STEM fields, and that's like we're definitely starting to change the topic, but we can do a lot more to do that.
And another subtle thing is when women take initiatives, they're seen as bossy. Whereas when males take it, oh, they're doing a great job, let's promote him. For example, for me, I was running for our class vice president, and I would hear people saying, I had a plan, was campaigning, and I heard people saying, she's too bossy, like, she's gonna just like do all this stuff. And the person who was running against me was a male who's kind of known to like, you know, like screw around at school, but people are like, oh, he's more laid back, like it'll be better like if he does it. And then now it's kind of like backfiring just because people thought that I'd be too bossy as the class VP. Or also like growing up, we were always told, like since second grade I've heard from teachers, can I get 4 strong boys to like help me carry these boxes? Why are we being told that only boys are strong from second grade? Whereas I could be more, like for example, I have 6 years of karate under my belt. I could totally like pick up a box that's probably not even that heavy. Like certain things like this, like they give women, females, like even children, just like a sense of like they lack confidence in doing everything that they do because they always second guess what they're doing because that's what they've been taught ever since they were younger, that they're incapable or they're just less than males. But yeah, these are just subtle ways.
I have a question. So People are always saying that like one of like the most unspoken things is like domestic violence and intimate partner violence. Because people, whenever they talk about crimes, they always talk about like shootings and pollution and acts of racism, but they always like omit stuff about intimate partner violence. Like, why do you think it is people always like stop talking about that when that's brought up, but they always talk about every other possible act of like violence?
With domestic violence, I feel like people don't feel safe talking about it because if it's a female telling a friend if it's a female who's being abused who's telling a friend and the abuser finds out, it'll just backfire on them and it could get worse. And it's also the aspect of, for example, when it comes into like racial abuse by police, a lot of people don't report it because they think that they're going to get backlash for it. So when people report like these crimes where they're being abused or where someone sees that domestic violence is taking place, they don't want to report it because they don't think that it's as serious of an issue when it actually is. And people are losing lives over it, but people don't see the statistics and don't realize that, yeah, like 20% of teens are being abused, and because of that, they don't want to report it because they don't think it's a big deal.
I also think it's a very taboo topic, especially in the South Asian community. Like, it's become so, like, domestic violence is such a normal thing. Like, if you go to, like, India and something happens, like, even if they, like, the woman tells their family, the family is gonna make sure that no one else knows. It's kind of like, it's almost like it's embarrassing to tell someone that they are being abused, which I think, like, is obviously it's a big problem, and it's also one of the reasons why domestic violence is not seen as big of an issue as things like racism, right?
And I think like another big part of it is like victim blaming. Like even if like a victim does come out, like there's always like those people who find a way to blame them for everything that they went through, even though it wasn't their fault at all. And I think it's just more difficult to talk about topics like domestic violence and what an individual has been through when they know that there's a lot of people who could end up blaming them for it, and when they're looking out for help, they don't want like something that'll encourage them to not speak about it anymore.
And that's a great question, because the way that we're trying to change the topic or like talk more about it is like this convention and like what all of us do. So those are good questions.
Mansplaining is one of those microaggressions we see very often on TV, and you see that at home, you see that at workplace. To kids as teens, do you encounter mansplaining in your day-to-day situation? And two, if you are in that situation, no matter whether it's a teen or an older person, how would you handle it?
Actually, a really good question. I was at a diversity forum at a middle school last month, and what we were basically doing is like talking to students about issues that they thought was like a big deal in their school, and like that was actually something that was like brought up a lot. What happened is these girls, I guess, were playing football, and these guys like absolutely refused to pass it to them. They were like, they're gonna drop it. They're not gonna be able to make it, and that's like definitely a form. They just think they're incompetent in that terms of like sports, so they don't even give them opportunities to try. And like it's something that we all experience on a daily basis. And like Yash talked about a lot, is like just calling it out when you see it. I think that's so important. Like even for a moment, if that person stops to think like, hey, I am like mansplaining, like I should not be doing this. You help them show that it's not okay, and like what they're doing is not okay. So hopefully next time when they're thinking of doing that, they think back to your conversation that you had with them. They're like, this is not okay, I should not be doing this.
Like I've definitely had my encounters with like mansplaining. Last year I was a junior, and I had 6 classes with 5 other guys, so I saw them every single period, and that was not a fun time. But since we took like pretty hard classes, and even though we were all in the same class, like if we had a group project or like a presentation or we're studying for a test, and someone asked a question and I was about to speak, generally one of those guys would step up and be like, oh, I can explain it, don't worry about it. But I would considering I had 6 classes with them, I knew I couldn't get through the whole day without like at least saying something, so I'd call it out how it was. I would be like, no, you don't need to mansplain this, okay, I got it. So I would just call it out as it was, and they definitely stopped doing that, and I think just like calling it out as it is, like not being afraid to tell them like, this is what you're doing and this is how it's making me feel, definitely helped the situation a lot.
I agree with Rashika, but for me, an experience was I'm taking AP Bio this year, and we have like lab projects, and in my lab group, it's usually me and then 2 other boys, and one of the guys is always like, wait, no, Srishti, you're doing this wrong, let me do that for you, and I'm sitting back and I'm just watching, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I did an internship in which I was doing the exact same thing, I'm pretty sure I'm just as capable as you, and when I'm a very confrontational person, so I will be like, what are you doing? Like, I can do it just as well as you, and even then, maybe even better because I have so much experience with it. And still don't listen, but then when the other guy in the group is like, let Srishti do it, she knows what she's talking about, that's when he listens. So what I realize is that sometimes, because I'm a female, like, what I say is muted. So usually, like, if you have friends that are calling other things out that are males, it usually has like a bigger impact. And then this is also the thing I've taught my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, even though he's like still in his learning phases. I always like try to teach him like you shouldn't be like mansplaining, you shouldn't be doing all of these things, and stuff like that. Or like with my older sister, she's a computer engineer right now, and at her last, she was working at this one computer company in which they were building robots, and she's an extremely intelligent woman. She's probably one of the smartest people I know. And she was telling me about, she came home from work one day, she was like crying, she's like, dude, like I can't do this anymore. Because she was one of the only females who was under 20, or under 25. And she was like, I can't do this anymore. Everyone keeps telling me that I'm incompetent, but I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how we can make everything better, but no one will listen to me. And ever since then, like, my sister and I have both like instilled in our brother, like, this is what you need to do to respect women. You need to hear their opinions, hear their voices, and like make sure like that you're not overdoing it just to like overcompensate.